Hey guys, in case you weren't aware, there was an AMA today on the Neverwinter Reddit. It was called the Systems AMA, and that meant that the entire systems team would be there answering everyone's questions for an hour about anything systems related, not like art related or anything like that. Unfortunately, it didn't really see much of a turnout, and I think that's partially due to publicity. It was announced on Twitter, I believe, and there was an announcement about it that showed up in the launcher. It was on the website, but there were still a lot of people who were not aware of it. So before I get into the actual overview of the AMA, I do want to talk about how I think they could improve future AMAs, and that would be to increase the publicity. One thing that I think they should definitely do is either make an in-game announcement similar to how they do maintenance alerts, or a global mail message saying, hey, we're doing an AMA. Come on X day at X time and ask your questions to the systems team. I also think they could do AMAs with the different teams, like the art team. Another thing I think they could do to improve the AMAs is to open the threads sooner, like maybe an hour before it's scheduled to start, and that would allow people to post their questions and vote on the questions that they think are the best. And so that means that whenever it actually starts, the devs can get straight to answering the hottest questions that people are most wanting an answer to, instead of maybe waiting a bit at the beginning for people to post questions, or maybe answering questions that aren't super important first. And lastly, they are looking at hosting another Systems AMA in the near future. I don't know if that means before Mod 16 is released. I would really love another one before Mod 16 is released, maybe in a few weeks. But I am glad that they're looking to start doing these sort of things and interacting with the community more often. That being said, I am going to give a summary of the most important questions that were asked during the AMA and the answers, and what I think about it. This stuff is in no particular order, so sorry, I didn't really feel like organizing them. One thing that I've seen a lot of people ask about is updating the free resources that are given to people on preview. Like in the Wondrous Bazaar, you have all the options that you can buy for 1 copper and so on. And people would want to have wards added, runic bags, XP tomes, and so on. And No Worries answered this, and he said that that's something they have discussed and they do want to add more stuff, but there's no timeline for that at the moment. They have a lot of other more important things on their plates. And I can understand that. I mean, as helpful as it would be, it's not exactly necessary. Somebody asked if there would ever be a PvP-focused module, and Astrodal took this one, and he said it's not likely. They did try it in the past, but a lot of people don't do PvP, and they would have nothing new to do for a long time. Me personally, I never really got into PvP. I did it some back when I used to stream. I did PvP on my DC for a little bit, but it's definitely not something that I would do all the time. PvE is absolutely my main focus, and I don't see myself ever putting PvP as a main focus. But if there were a PvP update, and they did say that there is going to be a PvP update soon, I would definitely stick my toes in that sand. That was a really weird way of saying I would try it out, sorry. Somebody asked about professions in Mod 16, if there was going to be an update to them or new recipes, and Astrodal said that there are going to be new recipes, but they probably will not be available at the launch of Mod 16. One thing that a lot of people have been concerned about is that the huge class overhaul and balance updates were catering the game to appeal more towards new players by making it easier and dumbing down the systems and stuff. And Astrodal actually said that the class updates and the buff and debuff reductions actually were not focused on appealing to the new players. It's something that they've wanted to do for a long time, and instead of doing it a little bit at a time, they thought that would take too long, so they decided to just go for it and do it all at once. Another hot topic is the boons and how they feel pretty lackluster for the most part. This is one that I'm actually a little bit upset about, because Astrodal said that there's not going to be any major changes to boons before Mod 16 launches, but it is something that they're going to be monitoring, of course. I am sad about this because I want the boons to feel more impactful, because right now they're just not nearly where they used to be in terms of uniqueness and usability. Because they're all pretty much the same. Like, not individually the same, but in each tier they all follow the same category. Like, this gives a stat, this gives its counter stat, this gives some damage to an enemy, this gives damage reduction from that enemy, you know. Like, they're not useless, in my opinion. They're not useless, the boons, but they just feel like they could be more impactful, and that certain choices should make more sense for different classes. Now on the topic of exchanges. As we know, there's already an enchantment exchange and a weapon and armor enchantment exchange and a runestone exchange for bondings to Eldritch, or actually they're in the bonding exchange from Eldritch to bondings, and people were asking if there would ever be a legendary mount exchange, a companion exchange, a legendary mount exchange, or a companion exchange, and right now both of those answers are no. The legendary mount exchange, they said they have no plans at the moment, but they will monitor the topic, so that means that it might be possible that there is one, but probably not. Another hot topic, and one that I actually asked about, was if there were any updates to weapon and armor enchantments on the table before launch, and this answer I am pretty satisfied with, because No Worries told me that the updates to the effects on those enchantments is on the table. However, the team that does those updates also does the effects for the bosses, powers, and every other mob, so they have a lot on their plates and are pretty busy. But it is something that they do want to fix, which I'm happy about, because right now a lot of the weapon and armor enchantments don't really feel like their effects are super useful. The other question I asked was about the legendary mount stat update. I asked if it would be possible for them to change the stats in some way or double them, because you can get the same amount of stats on a legendary mount as you can on a blue companion. And both No Worries and Astrodol took a stab at this, partly because somebody else asked the same question, but there are no plans to change the stat bonuses on legendary mounts, but small adjustments can happen before and after launch. So they don't have plans to change it, but it's something that they'll look at, and they might change if they feel that it's necessary. But No Worries explained, or maybe it was Astrodol, one of them explained that item quality is relative to other items in the same category. So like, companions get steadily better from white to legendary, and mounts from white to legendary, but you can't compare the two categories because they do completely different things. And so, realistically speaking, a legendary mount is still 2 times better than an epic mount. And that is a good point, but it still feels kind of weird that you can get a lot more stats from a blue companion that you can buy for like 100 AD. As far as VIP goes, somebody asked if there was going to be any updates to VIP, like perks or new ranks, and Silius said that they are discussing ways to expand perks and they're adding more VIP sales, so it's possible that we could see some changes to VIP soon. Another issue that people have been experiencing is capped guild coffers. Not able to donate anything to your coffer, not able to earn guild marks because everything is full all the time. And that is a pretty big problem. They acknowledge that it's a problem, they've known about it for a little while, and they want to fix it, but it's not going to be in Mod 16, is basically the gist of the answer that I saw. And then, of course, you have the Zen Exchange backlog. On PC, it's terrible. The last time I looked, it was like 30 million or something. And somebody asked them what they're going to do about that, because that's a really big number, and that's like a month of waiting to get your Zen. And No Worries said that they're always monitoring it, and they're slowly making changes, and they're going to keep slowly making changes to try and reduce it, but it's not something that we're going to see a huge change in overnight. Somebody suggested something that I actually thought was pretty interesting, and that is to display a warning whenever a player raises a stat above the maximum effectiveness level. Because with opposing rolls, you need a certain amount of stats to bypass your opponent's defenses, and then another set amount of stats to reach the cap for that stat. And if you invest more points than the cap, it's going to be wasted stats, and this person said that that can be confusing to new players, and it would be helpful to know whenever you've reached that point so you can start investing your stats into something else. And I thought that was a pretty interesting idea, and it would definitely help since the caps aren't exactly listed anywhere. You know the ratings of the enemy, but you don't see the caps unless you do a little bit of math. No Worries basically said that it shouldn't really be a big problem, and it's not going to stop these newish players from experiencing the content, so they don't have plans to do something like this. Somebody asked how often the developers play Neverwinter, and I couldn't tell if this was meant as like a sarcastic question to prove a point, or if they actually were genuinely curious, but a few of the devs answered, and the answers range from anywhere from daily to a few hours a week, but they have weekly play sessions as well. Something that's been a problem for a long time is mailing and trading profession items. Since you can't put them in your bank, it's really annoying to move them around your characters. But Asterdahl said this is not something that's going to be changed in Mod 16, but it definitely is a quality of life improvement that they want to fix up. Alright, 2 more questions. Someone asked if there would be an update to skill nodes. Those are the little profession thingies that you use your kits to open and get some resources and stuff. And that's something that's been on the radar for a while. They want to make the skill nodes more rewarding at some point, but they also want to keep it in line so that it's not something that you can just farm and that would be overpowered. Maybe overpowered isn't the right word, but like overly profitable, I guess. And lastly, they are looking into ways to incorporate the class pack items back into the game. And that goes for items like weapon transmutes. The different class packs had a whole bunch of items like companions. They had certain... Some of them had gear transmutes, weapon transmutes, and you can't get those anywhere else. So I'm happy that it's possible that some of these items are going to make their way back into the game in some form. I just hope that they're not going to be really easy to get, because those packs were expensive, and I still use my Great Weapons Goring Greatsword, I think it was called. That is my favorite sword ever. And if that becomes something really common, I'm just going to be really sad. Well guys, that's about it for the AMA. They only answered, I'd say, 25 to 30 questions, because not a whole lot of questions were asked, and that's a bit disappointing. So guys, please, if you see the AMA announced, please participate next time, and tell all your friends and your guildies and your alliances. Tell them to participate too. However, keep in mind that if you ask any specific questions about future content or updates that have not been released, you're probably not going to get a very direct answer. That was a big complaint with the last AMA. People were saying, well, why do you even have an AMA if you can't even answer any of the questions? I think that was just mainly because of the timing of it, and this one was a lot better in terms of answers. We got a lot more direct answers, and that's because Mod 16 is already on preview, so they can talk about Mod 16 as much as they want. So, thanks for watching, guys, or listening, or whatever. Maybe you watched because there was some nice Terminus gameplay. I shouldn't say nice, it wasn't really very nice. But there's some Terminus gameplay for you to watch. That is the second to last zone in the Undermountain campaign. And it is the one that appeals to me the most because of the colors. For some reason, I just really love warm colors. But, I'm getting off topic. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you later. Bye.